He just yearned for a stale piece of bread. Yet on that particular day, what unfolded before his eyes would forever alter his path. A graceful hand, a concealed vial, a gesture almost imperceptible. No one else noticed. No one, save for him. And even without a name, without a home, without a soul to care for him, that child screamed. He screamed as if he knew that silence meant someone's demise. And in that moment, frozen in time, the wealthiest man in the restaurant paused, his spoon suspended mid-air, a silent question in his gaze. Why is this boy trying to save me? That afternoon carried the scent of damp earth and expensive perfume. The restaurant, an enclave of mirrored glass and towering palm trees, was nestled high within a luxurious complex where the city transformed. No honking, no haste, no hunger. Waiters in pristine white gloves glided between tables with an almost choreographed precision. Everything there was understated, costly, and meticulously controlled. At the most secluded table on the veranda, Mr. Wallace Sterling, a man nearing 70, stared at the menu, his eyes not truly registering the words. He carried the heavy burden of someone who had never truly trusted another soul. A man who smiled not out of genuine warmth, but purely as a calculated maneuver. Across from him, a woman named Vanessa fidgeted with her cell phone, seemingly distracted. Her light-colored dress starkly contrasted with her dark lipstick and an air of impatience. From the moment she entered Mr. Sterling's life, she knew precisely what to utter, how to feign a smile, when to remain silent. And on this day, every fiber of her being exuded elegance, except for her eyes, which ceaselessly scanned her surroundings. Outside, between the manicured hedges and the gleaming luxury cars, a young boy named Leo clutched a plastic bag containing 2 dented cans and a piece of cardboard. His feet were soiled, his hoodie several sizes too large, and his gaze held the wary vigilance of one who sleeps with one eye open. He had been there for hours, awaiting a customer's departure, a dropped morsel of food, any crumb that might suffice. But on this day, hunger was not his dominant sensation. It was fear, because he had witnessed something. He didn't immediately comprehend it, yet something about that woman, that hand leaning over the plate, that tiny glass vial, sent a chill down the boy's spine. And even though he was unnoticed, unwelcome, he resolved to wait just a little longer, just to be certain. Leo knew this restaurant, not from the inside, never from the inside. But he had observed much from his spot, leaning against the iron fence that demarcated the world of the affluent from the rest. He was invisible, and that was his advantage. He saw gestures no one else did. He overheard fragments of conversations. He knew who left hand in hand and who bickered quietly in the parking lot. Mr. Sterling, for instance, always arrived on Thursdays. Same table, same waiter, same distant look. A man who seemed to exist in a perpetual state of calculation. He was dreaded by tycoons, revered by politicians, admired by those who only saw his bank balance. But to Leo, he was merely a weary old man with eyes of stone. Vanessa, however, was a different story. Leo never forgot the first time he saw her, beautiful, elegantly dressed, yet with a serpentine demeanor, still, silent, always poised to strike. When she entered Mr. Sterling's life, his demeanor shifted. He spoke less, laughed less, and on this particular day, the atmosphere felt peculiar. Vanessa was different, extremely attentive, but not to the man, attentive to the plate. The waiter presented the mushroom soup with artisanal sourdough. Mr. Sterling acknowledged him with a slight nod. And then, with a gesture almost too refined to be noticed, she opened her handbag. It was swift, discreet, but Leo saw. He saw the cap twist open, the vial gleaming in the veranda light, and the clear liquid trickling onto the edge of the plate. His body stiffened, but no one else saw a thing. No one even glanced. Only him, The homeless boy, the one they never truly see. Leo stepped back, feeling the solid ground beneath his feet tremble internally. It wasn't just fear, it was helplessness. He knew what he had witnessed, but who would believe him? A grubby boy, smelling of the streets, pointing a finger at a well-dressed woman in a place where even silence commanded a hefty price. No one ever believes. Yet he couldn't tear his eyes from the steaming bowl. Mr. Sterling was engrossed in his phone, oblivious. Vanessa crossed her legs with the calm assurance of someone who had already determined the outcome. Leo gripped the iron gate, feeling the scrutinizing gazes of the security guards circling like watchdogs, but no one approached him. After all, he wasn't doing anything, not yet. Just then, a server emerged with a tray and nearly bumped into him. "Hey, kid!" she hissed impatiently, as if his mere presence were a smudge. "Get lost! You'll disturb the patrons." He didn't reply, he didn't move. She huffed, as one might shoo a pigeon, and disappeared back inside. Leo felt swallowed by the world. But then he saw Mr. Sterling's hand reach for the spoon. He was about to eat. And in that instant, everything within the boy erupted. The hunger, the dread, the fury, the scorn. He couldn't remain silent any longer, even knowing he'd be scorned, even knowing he might be hurt. He shoved the gate open, crossed the pavement, and with a voice strained, he cried out, "Don't eat that!" The cry sliced through the air like shattering glass. Conversation ceased mid-sentence. Forks froze mid-air. And Mr. Sterling, with the spoon mere inches from his mouth, halted. All eyes turned to the slender boy in the grubby hoodie, standing in the middle of the dining room like a stone tossed into a tranquil pool. The nearest waiter dropped a carafe. Water seeped across the marble floor, but no one noticed. All eyes were fixed solely on him. "Don't eat that," Leo repeated, softer now, but his gaze unwavering on Mr. Sterling. "I saw her put something in it." The silence weighed tons. Vanessa, for a fleeting second, didn't react. Then she rose with an air of meticulously rehearsed indignation. "This is preposterous," she declared, her voice feigning offense. "Who allowed this boy in here? He's lying," she blurted, looking at the surrounding patrons. "He just wants attention. It must be some trick, a setup." But Leo didn't back down. "I saw," he stated firmly. "She put a liquid in your soup. A small vial. I swear. I saw it." Mr. Sterling slowly lowered his spoon. He looked at his wife, then at the boy. He said nothing. Vanessa crossed her arms, now trembling slightly. "This is absurd. He probably doesn't even know what a restaurant is. Are you going to trust a street kid? Are you really?" The manager materialized out of nowhere, yanking Leo by the arm with disproportionate force. "This isn't your place, understand? Get out before I call the police." "Wait," Mr. Sterling interjected, his voice grave. "Let him go." The man hesitated, then released him. But the damage was done. The humiliation hung in the air, in the loudly spoken words, in the disapproving glances, in the instant exclusion. Leo was merely an intruder in a world that had already decided who he was, even before he opened his mouth. Even so, he remained, because something within him whispered that it wasn't over yet. If this has outraged you as much as it has me, then do one thing, like this video, and subscribe to the channel right now, because what comes next will prove to you that truth, even when it comes from those no one listens to, holds a power no one can ignore. The turning point is just beginning. The restaurant was never the same that day. Vanessa attempted to regain control of the situation, but something had shattered, and it wasn't just the silence. Mr. Sterling said nothing. He didn't defend her. He didn't accuse. He simply called the manager and instructed that Leo not be removed, and that no one else speak until further notice. The boy stood frozen, as if still anticipating expulsion at any second. But it never came. Instead, Mr. Sterling gazed at him for long seconds. Then he looked at the soup. "What did that vial look like?" he inquired in a low tone. Leo described it in meticulous detail. And something in that account dismantled the old businessman's defenses. It wasn't merely what he said. It was the manner in which he said it. Without embellishment, without faltering, without hesitation. Like someone with nothing to gain, only the truth to tell. That night, Vanessa did not return to the country house. And Leo, he didn't return to the pavement either. Mr. Sterling arranged for him to be taken to a trusted shelter. Not just any shelter, a clean place, with a real bed, hot showers, and above all, quiet. In the days that followed, Leo asked for nothing, made no demands, caused no fuss. He simply slept, for hours, for days, as if his body, finally safe, whispered, "Now I can crumble a little." Mr. Sterling, on the other hand, remained silent. But he observed. He discovered the boy's name, his history of entering and leaving shelters, the death of his mother due to medical negligence, and the disappearance of his alcoholic father. He also learned that Leo had no criminal record, never stole, never associated with gangs. Leo simply survived as best he could. And that somehow affected Mr. Sterling more than he had anticipated, perhaps because he saw himself reflected in that guarded, quiet gaze, perhaps because he realized that someone who had nothing saved the life of someone who had everything. 2 weeks later, he returned to the shelter. He sat before Leo and stated without preamble, "If you wish, I can enroll you in a real school. No strings attached. You don't have to trust me now, but just try." Leo didn't respond immediately, but in that instant, for the first time, he believed. Someone had truly seen him. Months passed. Autumn yielded to a timid spring, and on the veranda of the same restaurant, now renovated and with enhanced security measures, Wallace Sterling dined alone. Vanessa was gone. The air was free of suspicion, but there was no rush either. Since that day, everything had changed. The investigation confirmed the substance in the soup. The vial was discovered in her car, concealed in a false compartment. The scandal exploded in the news, and Mr. Sterling, accustomed as he was to headlines, remained silent. It wasn't wounded pride. It was something else. It was the shame of almost dying by placing too much trust in someone who only saw his wealth. But on that day, he wasn't there merely for the daily special. He was waiting for someone. And when Leo entered the restaurant, in a clean shirt and with a backpack slung over his shoulders, the transformation was striking. He was still slender, still glanced around before taking each step, but he walked with an upright posture, like someone who, for the first time, had a place to return to afterwards. He approached the table with the same hesitation from months ago. Mr. Sterling rose, pulled out a chair, and motioned with his chin, "Sit down. The food today is decent." Leo offered a faint smile and sat. No one expelled him. No one gave him a harsh look. No one called him a thief. As they ate, Mr. Sterling recounted that the lawsuit against Vanessa was ongoing, that the lawyers would handle everything, and that, from then on, what he wished to nurture was Leo's future. "You saved me without knowing me, and you listened to me when no one ever had," the boy replied, his voice almost inaudible. Mr. Sterling raised his glass of juice. "So, are we even?" Leo looked into his eyes, and for the first time he responded without fear. "Not yet, but we're getting there." The waiter served dessert, and for a moment the two fell silent. It wasn't awkwardness, it was something rarer. Peace. Leo tentatively stirred his spoon, unsure if he was truly allowed to eat all of it. Mr. Sterling merely observed, like someone who understood that some battles are not won with words, but with time and presence. "Have you thought about what you want to be?" the old businessman asked in a light tone. The boy shrugged, a little embarrassed. "I don't know. Maybe a veterinarian, or work with animals." "With animals?" "Yeah, animals don't judge. I heard that somewhere, and it stuck with me." Mr. Sterling smiled, a real smile, simple, without agenda. He was not the same man from that first lunch, because now he knew. Sometimes the savior comes from the street, And sometimes the betrayer comes from beside your bed. Leo took another spoonful and looked at his plate, then at the sky. And then he said, "If I had stayed quiet that day, you'd be dead, right?" Mr. Sterling didn't answer immediately. Then he simply nodded. "Yes." Another pause. The sun filtered through the windows, bathing the boy's face in gold. And then, as if sealing a silent pact, Mr. Sterling said, "Thank you for not staying quiet." Leo lowered his head, trying to hide a smile, but it was too late. The most powerful man in that room had already seen it, and for the first time he didn't feel like he was saving anyone, just reciprocating. Sometimes from where it's least expected comes the voice that prevents the worst. And sometimes that voice comes from someone the world insists on silencing. Leo had no name in the newspapers, no one to call him home, but he had courage. And courage, in the end, isn't about facing danger. It's about confronting scorn. The truth is, many people would have turned their faces away, pretended not to see, thought, "Not my problem." But not him. He stayed, he screamed, and he changed the course of history. Mr. Sterling, with all his fortune, almost fell because he trusted appearances. And he only didn't fall because an invisible boy decided not to be passive. Perhaps this is the greatest justice that exists, when someone who owed nothing to the world gives the world what they themselves never received, compassion, not out of gratitude, but by choice. And perhaps, just perhaps, that changes everything. If this story touched your heart as it touched ours, share it with someone who needs to remember the value of a sincere voice. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more of these real stories full of soul and courage, because sometimes all the world needs is for someone to have the courage to shout.